Albion Online just released a new dev talk and they are going all in. This is probably hands down one of the biggest updates that we are anticipating this year. It's pretty good for a lot of reasons. First is the corrupted dungeons. They're talking about 2 to 3 PvP dungeons. They also talked about some new changes for new players so they can actually go to the Albion Online world and not feel overwhelmed. Now we're going to skip through the summary that they did for the previous update. We're just going to go to exactly where they talk about the new stuff. Here we go.
Starting with the new player experience, instance PvP, and other content accessible on the Royal Continent.
That's so awesome.
The second major update of 2025 is already in full development and set to release this summer. This update is all about making instance PvP more accessible and engaging, alongside a big overhaul of some aspects of Albion's early game. Let's start with PvP.
Let's go.
While most of Albion's battles take place in the open world,
that is actually very surprising to me. Although not really. I am a corrupted dungeon main, but when they say most of the fighting, I'm assuming they're talking about just the ZVZ number of players involved in fighting.
Instance content plays a crucial role in introducing players to PvP by providing a more structured and predictable environment.
Can we just take a second? Can we take a second to whoever recorded this video? Staff of balance in corrupted dungeons?
Players to
PvP not a thing.
By providing a more structured.
I think this is like a wild staff in Hellgates. Whoever recorded this has absolutely no idea how this works. But hey, kudos to the one who recorded it though.
Predictable environment. With the next update,
bro has a Morgana cape.
We're looking to address existing community concerns with corrupted dungeons and Hellgate, alongside making them directly accessible from major cities so players can jump into the action faster than ever.
Okay, so let's talk about that let's listen to it again.
From major dungeons and Hellgates, alongside making them directly accessible from major cities so players can jump into the action faster than ever.
Okay, so he talks about having a portal, is what I'm assuming, similar to how Brazilian has their portal to the mist, all right, or to the roads in every single city, every major city. Now, I'm assuming that includes Caerleon as well. That includes Brazilian as well. In the current state of the game, I would say that most of the players actually doing corrupted dungeons do it out of Caerleon just because it's surrounded by the red zones. Although with the changes that introduce as city portals, a lot of players have also been using the city portals as their hub for corrupted dungeons because it is surrounded by black zone, right? And there is an Invis shrine. So going to your corrupted dungeon is like super, super, super safe. Now with the introduction of this portal though, I'm assuming it is a portal, what will happen to the existing corrupted dungeon maps? Now, my assumption is they will get rid of corrupted dungeon maps and just make us pay maybe a fee to get into corrupted dungeons, or they will make it so like it was similar to like Crystal League, where you still have to have a map in order for you to access the portal. Still have the corrupted dungeon map, lethal or non-lethal, and then you click on the portal, maybe put the map into the portal. That's sort of like the UI that I'm assuming. Or better yet, this is transitioning to another idea that I have. Better yet, get rid of all the maps. All existing maps turns into silver bags, something like that. Or, I don't know, just let us keep the corrupted dungeon maps as an artifact, a relic of the past. Okay, we can do that. And make it so that, similar to how the safe portal works, you use it, you pay a fee, and then you go into a corrupted dungeon. Now, transitioning to my idea, which I think will bring balance to Slayer Stalker corrupted dungeons, but mainly for Stalker corrupted dungeons because that's all I play. We have people in Stalker corrupted dungeons that bring tier 8. that just bully everyone, IP gapping them, and that's the strat. You know? Now you can definitely win against those. IP gapping has just been a thing in Albion Online. But in Stalker Corrupted Dungeons, where everything's kind of just more balanced, what if take the concept of the safe portal and apply it to the new portal in Corrupted Dungeons, where if you're doing Stalker Slayer, it discourages players, mostly for Stalker, this idea, it discourages players to go over the soft cap way too much. Meaning, if you go over a soft cap, that increase will also increase the fee that you will have to pay in order to go in. So for the example of someone who bring like 8.1, 8.2 in Stalker Corrupted Dungeons just to IP gap and bully, although it's not really that much effective, they will be discouraged for bringing that, making all fights in Stalker Corrupted Dungeons, or maybe even Slayer, actually fair, and it is based on either skill or your counter to the weapon. So that's, I think, is pretty cool. It will also increase the silver sync in the game, which in turn will fix the skyrocketing premium prices in all servers. People will just sit in the city and not go out into the land, and auto queue killed world interaction in WoW. Okay, so this also what is saying, if we bring a portal like this, right, there will be less open world interaction because everyone will just stay in the city. Now, they did say in the beginning of the video that the open world state is kind of balanced now. It's a very, and this is a good state. So I think they're piggybacking on that idea that with the smuggler activity actually in full effect, you have your dens, you have new activities in the open world with the camps. They're satisfied with the activity that they see in the open world. And now they're probably going to make sure that, you know, those corrupted dungeon players, Hellgate players, although they do interact in the open world because they just, you know, go in to the open world, go to the map, journey back, it can affect the number of players in the open world, but not really, probably not really going to affect it that much. Okay. There's a lot of action going on around Caerleon that includes CDs and Hellgate players. I agree. Most of the impromptu fights that you see in around Caerleon is from Hellgates and Corrupted Dungeon players. That is true as well. But personally, I think this is a good change. We have been discussing this for, I feel like 3 years now. They finally are doing it. So in my opinion, it's a good change. They need to have a silver fee though. They need to have a silver fee because the one thing that they are taking away from this is the journey back cost. Now, the journey back cost when you are a Corrupted Dungeon player, at least for me, pop a map, go in the dungeon, go until you're satisfied with your loot, come back, journey back. The journey back is a silver sync, depending on the loot that you have. Now, they will not have that anymore. With all of their efforts to include silver syncs in the game to control the premium prices, I feel like they need to have a silver fee going in. Let's move on though.
On top of that, we're introducing an entirely new PvP dungeon for 2 and 3 player groups. This new dungeon is inspired by Nightfall Abbey, but with fewer exits, deeper levels, greater consequences, allowing players to strategize whether to escape with their loot or descend for even greater rewards.
Okay, let's talk about that. Why does he sound exactly like Robin? Maybe he's CEO in training. All right, so let's talk about this 2 to 3 PvP dungeon. All right, they're talking about it similar to how a Nightfall Abbey works. So it probably safe to assume that there are multiple groups that can be in the dungeon, although they do say dungeon, and they use the word descend for better loot. So if we were to assume here, I'm thinking it's like Corrupted Dungeon-ish for 2 to 3 players, or Hellgate-ish, where you can go next. All right? Not like it's a Nightfall Abbey in a sense that there are multiple teams in the same map, fewer exits, he said, so you can be more aggressive because there are less exits. So there's not a lot of information there yet, but this is very, very exciting. A lot of people, not a lot, but some people who are Hellgate enthusiasts, let's just call them, have been calling for 3v3 Hellgates. Now, there was not an official response, but one of the response of someone in the know says that it kind of was discussed, but they weren't sure if there are enough player base to actually participate in a 3v3 Hellgate format. Now, what they're doing is they're combining Nightfall Abbey. I'm assuming this dungeon is going to just make it so that you can also access this from the city. I think it would be cool. But if they are replacing the corrupted dungeon maps with this kind of map, they're making it like it is inspired by Nightfall Abbey. So Nightfall Abbey is very limited in terms of when you can actually go to a Nightfall Abbey. You have to roam around. So it depends on the application and how they actually make sure that there's enough players inside these new dungeons for a lot of PvP. With them saying descend to the next deeper level, I want to assume that it is like corrupted dungeons where you can just go. Now let's talk about like 3v3 in this situation. You can go with as in 2 or 3, which is very interesting in itself that you can actually go in as 2 or 3. Pretty good. But in the 3v3 concept, this was discussed a long time ago. There are several comps that you can go. You can go healer, tank, DPS. You can go 2 DPS, 1 healer. Someone even said earlier DPS, healer, and support. You can go triple DPS, which I think is going to be the most popular. Triple DPS, just go with a bit of sustain with Hellion Jackets. But obviously, over time, we are going to see how this meta evolves and how rewarding it can be. And I do hope they make it as rewarding as possible without breaking the game in itself, because I think this can truly be one of the main things that make Albion Online, become separate themselves from other MMORPGs. This full loot 3v2 to 3 PvP in a dungeon. There's a lot of potential there, so hopefully they don't screw this up.
Alongside these PvP updates, we're making major improvements to the early game experience.
There you go.
The feedback we get shows that many new players finish the tutorial but feel overwhelmed by Albion's open-ended gameplay.
As
to address
it's always
this,
been.
We're introducing a new structured post-tutorial experience designed to provide players with a smoother introduction to the game.
So basically quests. Albion Online is bringing us quests. Structured quests on top of the journal that we already have.
A dedicated category in the Albion Journal will replace scattered post-tutorial quests, offering structured milestones that start simple and gradually encourage independent exploration.
So that's always been like the thing for Albion Online, right? You go through this tutorial and like you're just thrown into the open world, thrown into the game, and you kind of don't know what to do. That probably is like a major barrier for a lot of casual players. Now that they're doing this, they're leaning more, at least in the early game, they're leaning more towards the traditional MMORPG where you go to the tutorial, you do quests like a tutorial, and it's basically an extended tutorial for the game. The chest loot will be juiced in the start. Oh, that's true. That's actually true.
With these changes, we want adventurers to feel confident and ready to carve out their own path in Albion. And of course, the update will also bring more quality of life features, various gameplay improvements, and a brand new batch of crystal weapons.
Hey, finally we're getting the fire crystal weapon.
Looking further ahead, our third update this year will continue
They're already working on it
to the early and mid-game content on the Royal Continent. And what's more integral to the Royal Continent than faction warfare?
Okay. there are more, but yeah, sure.
Faction warfare is an important part of Albion Online because it is many players' first exposure to large-scale PvP.
That's
true. The feature already is a solid system with a steady player base, but we've gathered a lot of feedback on areas that need improvement. Some of the biggest issues include high repair costs, difficulty finding consistent action, and lack of objective variety.
High repair cost? How are they going to do that? I feel like high repair cost should be like a thing because you're doing non-lethal PvP. There should be a cost to it. That's a silver sink. Yeah, but right? You're saying faction warfare is basically dead. They're saying they're very consistent. Yeah, they were 8.4 and you should repair that the way that it's normally repaired. I feel like, because that's a really good silver sink. So they're trying to satisfy some of the whales, which you know what, I'm okay with it. I'm okay. The swipers in this game are the ones that are actually keeping the game afloat, being profitable. And if they do not address the concerns of 8.4 swipers, for us, they're probably going to quit. So there's that.
We're already hard at work addressing these pain points and reworking faction warfare activities to make them more rewarding and engaging.
More rewarding?
Beyond faction warfare. By the time this update launches, all remaining crystal weapons will be released. And we'll have completed several seasons under the new 2-month guild season schedule. This makes it the perfect time to review their state and explore potential expansions. One of our primary objectives is making guild seasons more attractive and accessible for mid-level guilds, while also offering new high-end goals for the guilds at the very top. We're still in the concept phase, and as always, we're listening to community feedback. If you have ideas on how to improve guild seasons, let us know. We have some big plans for 2025. Beyond these major updates, we'll also continue to roll out regular combat balance changes, performance improvements, and more quality of life upgrades. If there's something specific you'd like us to take a look at, drop a comment below. We hope you enjoyed this sneak peek.
Drop a comment below. Okay, so the one thing that I did leave a comment in here is the bank overview. The bank overview, it would be so nice, right? If we have this bank overview that we already have right here, it would be so nice if we can actually take items from the bank itself. Now, this will become another silver sink. Obviously, you cannot get items if you are in Caerleon, if the items is in Caerleon and you are in a royal city, vice versa. Also, you're not going to break the rules with, black zones, dens, and all that. If you're in Fort Sterling and you have items in Limhurst, make it so that if I am in Fort Sterling, I get an item from Limhurst, I pay what I should have paid if I literally went to Limhurst, get the item, teleport it to Fort Sterling, I pay that cost. So we're not introducing anything new. It's just a quality of life update to make sure that everyone can get their stuff from wherever. Now, can you bank? Can you bank in another bank for a fee? Now that's counterintuitive. Probably just don't do that. But if I can, just get this and transfer it to my inventory because I need it, and I don't want to travel. I don't want to spend an extra minute or two to get my items. That's a better silver sink rather than, all right, I have to go 1 minute, 2 minutes, get my item, look for the item, and then equip it, put it in my inventory, and then teleport to where I need to be. Just give us the opportunity to get it, pay the fee, and then boom, get another good silver sink. It's pretty good. Or maybe even add a little bit, add a little bit more. Instead of just paying the teleport fee, make it like 10% more, right? Make it 10% more. That's good. Another silver sink. And I think a lot of people will use that, especially veteran players who have scattered, just absolutely scattered inventory. And there is one thing as well. The boxes that you have, like here, I don't know how they are ever going to make this work. the chests that you have here, like, can we also have it as, you know, another tab? Or is that too much to ask? I feel like it is too much to ask, but eventually they will have to do it. It's like one of the features that they will have to do. But yeah, give us the ability to get from the bank overview with a fee based on the weight, based on the distance traveled, and yeah, that's my suggestion right there. And one more suggestion, since we're already doing like corrupted dungeons, there is one about the bats. The bats and the crystals. The bats have already been okay. You know, there's just a couple of bugs here and there when you're chasing and you still get bats. Needs to be fixed. But for the crystals, since there are going to be a lot more corrupted dungeon players and it's more accessible in all cities, the chances of players using this as a PvE is going to be higher. Significantly higher? Probably not. But people trying to do this as PvE would be more. Now, that's good and all, right? But that will lead to lack of action. And if we want to increase the action and still give the opportunity to newer players to treat it as PvE, one thing that I want to see is that when you are in a corrupted dungeon and there are multiple crystals, you want to break, you're doing PvE, good. Get a lot of mobility, break crystals, break 3 of them, go do the rest of your dungeon. Do PvE. Now, there are times where players break 2 crystals when they cannot actually win against them, but hide behind the 3rd crystal, right? So that you break the 3rd, you cannot get out, and they're just stalling. Okay, you cannot go to the next because you broke the crystal, blah, blah, blah. Now, there could be one solution to this, is that if both players are inside the room of the crystal, because crystals are in specific rooms, if both players are in there and are present, the crystal despawns, actually goes to the ground, no body block, no, not targetable, just disappears. Absolutely just disappears. So that we prevent players from stalling, prevent players from cheesing the crystal system, where they break 2, hide behind the 3rd, and bait you into breaking the 3rd one. So it gives the opportunity for players who are there for PvE to just break, and then go in next, and still prevent players from absolutely just hiding behind the 3rd crystals for you to be baited into breaking them. And it's been happening more often than not, so hopefully SBI looks into that as well. The break crystals, they should lose infamy as well. Every crystal broken, lose infamy. I like that idea as well. Okay, so if you have any more suggestions for SBI to consider, leave them in the comment section below, or better yet, join us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Birdstone.